Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting through the noise on a really fast-moving situation.
That's right. We're looking at the U.S., Iran, and the nuclear program. Lots of statements, intel updates flying around.
Yeah, exactly. And our job here is to boil it down to what you really need to know right now. And we're kicking off with some pretty stark news. Former President Trump's latest warning to Iran. It sounds like his toughest yet. He was at a meeting recently and said, quote, "Sure, we will attack Iran again if they rebuild their nuclear program." Pretty direct.
Very direct. And you really have to see that comment in context. It's not, coming out of nowhere.
Right.
It follows those U.S.-led airstrikes back in June, just last month.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And those strikes specifically went after key Iranian nuclear sites. We're talking Natanz, Fordo, those underground enrichment plants, and also Isfahan, which is big for their R&D.
So the core facilities.
Exactly. Now, the intelligence says these strikes caused, quote, serious damage. But here's the kicker. It also says they were not destroying the program completely. So damage, yes. Elimination, no.
Okay, let's unpack that then. If the program wasn't destroyed, what's the actual, current status of Iran's capabilities? Where are they today?
Well, the latest figures show Iran holding around 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%.
400 kilos at 60%. How close is that to...
Right. So it's still technically far from weapon-grade 90%. That's the threshold for a bomb.
Okay.
But, and this is a big but, that 400 kilos at 60%, that's definitely enough to raise global alarms. It seriously shrinks their breakout time.
The time they'd need to get to 90%.
Exactly. They're basically just a short technical hop away from having weapons-grade material if they decided to go for it. And that keeps everyone on edge.
And kind of incredibly, despite these repeated strikes, the intel assessment is still that the program's only been set back by months, not destroyed.
Yeah.
It feels like. It feels like they just keep getting back up. What does that tell us about how committed they are or how maybe dug in this program is?
It tells us they are incredibly committed. Military action can disrupt, it can slow things down, but it doesn't seem to be changing their fundamental strategic calculation here. And what's really interesting when you connect the dots is how the Israelis are viewing this.
Okay.
You've got officials, Netanyahu, his aides, now saying they believe they may receive U.S. approval for a strike if Iran resumes uranium enrichment.
Wow, okay. U.S. approval for an Israeli strike.
Potentially. That signals potentially a major shift in U.S. Israel coordination. It suggests a much more aggressive joint posture, which, could really change the game in the region, raises the stakes significantly.
So military pressure on one side, potential coordination shifts. But Trump also made a move on the diplomatic side, right? Pushing back on sanctions relief.
That's right. He halted a planned sanctions relief program. So it's not just about military options. The economic levers are being pulled back, too.
And why did he do that? What was the reasoning?
He specifically cited Iran's hostile rhetoric, pointing to statements from Supreme Leader Khamenei, said that rhetoric forced him to abandon talks.
So the talking stopped because of the talking.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, looking at the bigger picture, this basically slams the brakes on negotiations. It closes off a really important channel for trying to de-escalate things without resorting to military force. It really shows how linked the diplomacy is to the tone, the rhetoric from both sides.
Okay, so let's try and summarize this for you, the listener. What we've got is a very strong warning from the U.S.
Yep.
Iran sitting on alarming levels of enriched uranium, closer than ever to weapon-grade potential. Previous strikes slowed them down, but only by months, showing the program's resilience.
Right.
A potential major shift in U.S. Israel coordination, maybe even green-lighting future strikes.
Which is a huge development.
And finally, diplomatic efforts basically stalled, frozen. It's a lot, and it's moving fast.
Exactly. This whole story is, like you said, unfolding fast. New pieces are clicking into place almost daily. And it leaves us with a really crucial question hanging in the air.
Yeah, the big one. Could another U.S. strike actually trigger a much wider war across the region? Or, conversely, could all this intense pressure finally be the thing that forces Iran back to the negotiating table? Something definitely to keep thinking about as the situation develops.